A very big reason people are living here today is for the sole purpose of healing others in need.
We don't walk at it alone. It's a magnificent blend of individualistic people with extraordinary abilities, all joining in to heal the world together.
And since all of us have the ability to heal, there must be a way to tell the world all about it.
Welcome to the Healers Podcast.
Last week, the healers had the fortunate opportunity to visit a homeless camp on federal land in the woods off the 101 freeway in the Valley of Los Angeles, Encino, California. Paul Reed is a homeless advocate and the frontrunner of the nonprofit Passion, helping humanity in need. His extraordinary efforts and leadership show what the love of homeless people is all about, clearly defining him as a healer. All right, everybody, welcome to the Healers Podcast Show. My name is Logan, the lovely Gabrielle, and our special guest today is Mr. Paul Reed. Welcome out, Paul. Thanks for coming out and joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you for coming, Paul. So one of the reasons why I wanted you to come is because I think you are a hero and a healer.
Oh.
I think the work that you do is extraordinary. I had the pleasure of meeting Paul out at a vicinity off of Havenhurst where a lot of homeless congregate. And I was so impressed with how much you take on to do service and help the homeless. And you have personal relationships with all of the people at the homeless embankment that they can actually call you when they have an emergency any time of night. And I think it's extraordinary, and I think you're extraordinary.
Oh, thank you.
So thank you for coming, and so we can, explore, the subject of the homeless situation that's going on that is tragic in Los Angeles right now.
Yes.
So I'm curious, what would you refer to yourself as, or your involvement in the homeless situation?
I would say a homeless advocate. Mm-hmm. Just want to be human and treat people, likewise. That's what we should all be doing,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's amazing. How long ago did you get started working with the homeless?
I've pretty much done it my whole life. When I was younger, I'd go out with church groups. We'd go to Mexico and Pomona and Skid Row. And, so growing up, I would do that, usually once, twice a month. And then I got injured and I had a workers' comp case and, I couldn't really do much. I was out of commission. But when all that stuff got taken care of, I was chomping at the bit like, hey, I want to get back out. I want to do some stuff. And one night in October of 2013, one of my high school classmates said, hey, we're going to have a blanket drive down in Skid Row. Can you come? We know you do security and all that. We need some extra eyes to make sure everything goes well. And I said, sure, I'd love to do that. And I went down there, and that night we estimated we handed out about 1,340 blankets. We're down there about 2.5 hours. But about 40 minutes in, I was watching the back, and I saw someone I knew from my hometown. And I remember him saying, we saw the shock on your face and the shock on his face. Mm-hmm. And I remember driving home that night, and I'm like, this is my mission. I can't see anyone that I know again homeless, let alone on Skid Row. And, that was the game changer.
Amazing. Yeah, I've spent a lot of years in Los Angeles, and I make it a point to always go down to Skid Row. And from the time I started going down there to now, what it's like, it's incredible. And I used to collect stuff and raise money to bring donations down there. And about 2 years ago, I remember it was around the holidays. I think it was Christmas. I decided to go hand out stuff, but I didn't have to go downtown anymore because my whole neighborhood was filled with homeless, on Beverly Boulevard and La Brea Avenue. And now I know we are also affected because everywhere we go and drive in the underpasses, there's homeless everywhere. It's a huge problem. And I love how dedicated you are. It's really beautiful that you're in service to others, not service to self.
Yeah, no, it's my passion. There's nothing better for me to do, so I love it.
Would you say you got started at an early age doing that?
Yeah, I'd go down with various church groups, and we'd go help in
Oh, that's right,
Mexico.
you said that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all throughout my life, I would be exposed to it and going and helping. But really, like, since October 2013 is really when it started up. And then the more and more, the further we've gone, the more and more I've got involved with. And, now it's just, I'm mainly just focused on services. But we know in order to do services, we got to go to the far and wides and find these guys and see who wants help and, go from there.
Right. So what's the process? Because we had met you at off of Havenhurst, which if you're listening in the audience, it's a part of Los Angeles, kind of in the valley of West Hollywood.
No, not West Hollywood, Encino.
Well, Encino, but whatever. It's the valley. It's just a hop, skip, and a jump from Sunset Boulevard. But anyway, I mean that's kind of like been your main focal point now is that area, right? To
Yeah,
really
for the
help
last year, it's just been the valley. And when we started our group Passion, the co-founder and I, the reason why we started is because we noticed there was homelessness in all of our backyards. It wasn't just Skid Row or Santa Ana or even Mexico or other parts of the world. It was becoming everywhere in LA and Orange County and San Diego. I mean, all throughout the Southland. And now we see in our state how bad it's gotten.
Yeah.
So my grandparents, when I was younger, used to have 20, 30 people over every holiday to, give people a place to go that had no other place to go. They were very well-to-do and they lived in the valley. And, for me, it was my way to honor them is to go back and, do what I can do to help there. And, my other grandparents were great too. So, I kind of combined both my sets of grandparents, and the valley has a bigger problem than where I grew up and my other grandparents grew up. So that is my place.
That's amazing. How big of a problem do you think the homeless situation is here in Los Angeles?
Oh, it's absolutely horrible.
Horrible in as well. Like how many? I mean, do you know the statistics on the numbers, or you haven't gotten into those details?
The recent homeless count estimates there's about 59,000 people, but we know it's far more than that.
50, yeah, the numbers are always fudged, right?
And we're not blaming anybody. Right, it's just some of these places you just don't know they're at. And I mean, like where we met, if you look at the homeless count numbers there, last year they said there was 31 people and this year 105, and we went and did our own count. There's over 600.
Wow.
So, yes. And because they do it over 3 nights in January, we don't blame anybody if you don't know the area, not going in there, you don't know what you're coming across. So we're looking at better ways of saying, hey, can we do some of these areas during the day? And, bring in advocates or appropriate people so everyone feels comfortable so we can get this accurate, and then we can, send the funds to where they're really needed and not just hold on or send them maybe to areas they think it's where they actually need them.
So take us through it. I mean, we've been there, but, I'm sure people listening, as far as your healing techniques, you're helping the homeless. Take us through a day at the office of what that would look like when you go down to these, especially the one off Havenhurst.
I'll get up in the morning and, you check your phone, see if anyone has any last minute requests, what they need. And then, I gather up, I have my bag of service flyers and, we'll have the cars loaded up with, whatever's needed for that day. Sometimes it's food, blankets, clothes, blah, blah, blah. And then we go out there, we meet in the parking lot and we go over, hey, this is what we're here for today. This is who needs what, who can help who. And usually, we have that figured out ahead of time, Women usually is better talk to women, men with men, people have drug issues, addictions and all that. So then we head in there and, we get it done.
Yeah. I think the misconception I think that people have with homeless is that, they're all drug addicts and they're all, they're bent out and we know because we've been there. I mean, that's totally not the case at all. I mean, there's people that are just, they're living in a poverty state, but a lot of them have, and I mean, they've lost some things and, they end up getting, nothing left but to move into that area and.
Yeah, I mean, these days, even more and more so with the prices of rent and, Medi-Cal and Medicare and, all that stuff, it's just so high, people, they can't survive. I mean, we're literally all one paycheck away, a lot of people will say, but, I mean, we've come across people that, I mean, they've had hundreds of millions of dollars at one point, their families, and they're homeless because it's just, whether it's illness or a death in the family or rent or this or that, they become homeless. It's not all criminal and drugs and all that, like, a lot of people think. Yeah, and to first touch on the drug issues, so many people, when they start drinking or using other drugs, we find out they started after they became homeless to kill the pain. They never did anything before that. And I mean, you look back at their history and you look at their jobs and and all that, it makes sense because they're highly drug tested in some of these. So, and in that respect, a lot of times the drugs that are being used are started afterwards.
Do you want to talk about some of the things that people may need down there, or what could help the situation? Like when we were down there, there was an unbelievable amount of trash, and my understanding is it really will require some large dumpsters to clean up the area, and there seems to be a little breakdown on getting those dumpsters there. Do you want to touch on any of this?
As far as what's going on in Encino, last October, some friends, none of us are a nonprofit, nothing. One of us contacted Waste Management, which is not contracted by the city. They donated a dumpster. We took it down there on a Thursday morning, and by the time any of us advocates or house people got out there to throw anything in there, they had it 90% full. And they had at least 100 shopping carts that were empty. It just goes to show they've been asking for it for 2 years. We gave them one and they were getting the job done. Now, working with multiple organizations out there, we have one organization called Clean Streets, Clean Starts. They're part of the Northridge Beautification Foundation. They are out there and probably 3 times a week, and they are helping them clean up everything, bring the carts up. They pay them to do it. They're cleaning the median out to prevent fires and all that. So the next step will be the dumpsters. We were talking about that. We had a meeting the other day, and we had to bring the dumpsters in because we know like all that trash out there, the longer that sits there, the worse. People are coming out there sick all the time. So that is the next step. It's taken a little while, but we are getting there.
And tell me, for the people watching, that they feel compelled to try to help. And is there a council person? Is there somebody they can contact to kind of help get this process, moving and taken care of? Yeah,
basically the 2 council members that are in that area. Actually, I'm going to say that there's 3. It's one of them has nothing to do with Encino, but he's willing to step up. But between Paul Koretz, Nuri Martinez, and Bob Blumenfield, those 3 council members, plus State Senator Henry Stern, the Encino Neighborhood Council, Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council, Passion, Clean Streets, Clean Starts, LAPD, LA Sanitation, we're all on board to not only clear this out, but hopefully, and LA Family Housing as well, obviously, not only to clean it out and keep it clean, but also house them and, make that area, because it's a large wildlife preserve, look like what it used to look like. And, of course, we're going to need a lot more volunteers and stuff too. So through our page, I'm be posting stuff. Hey, we need this, we need that. I was talking with some people at a Homeless Connect Day last Thursday, and I can't mention their names yet, but we're going to be bringing pet services and showers there. It's not official, but that's probably going to happen. And normally,
yes, there's a lot of animals there.
Yes.
As well.
And normally that costs a lot of money, like to do showers and all that stuff, but they're willing to come do it free because we all want to get in on this together and make this, beautiful and nice and all that. And
awesome.
we get some more funding to open some beds so no one has to live there, or at least, very few.
So what are some of the various situations that you come across down in these encampments that you go to?
It all depends. People think, oh, well, they're Skid Row. They're just on sidewalks and in these city streets. But like we're saying, in that area, it's heavily wooded. They film there quite a bit. It's a very well-to-do part of town. So sometimes we're going through wooded areas, where water flows through and exotic animals live. Other times we have our Skid Row where, we're right down the street from where they do the award shows and all the businesses. And sometimes it's along riverbeds, like down in Santa Ana, and along the LA River. And you just notice that, all the issues are different in regards to how they have to survive. Some people, their biggest, you always have to worry about violence, but their biggest issue is if it rains, I'm going to have to get out of here at a certain point because I'm going to get flooded out.
Can you explain that? I don't think we touched on that, the dam that is connected with this area and how the water flows through it and completely, it floods the area.
Yeah.
And that's a big reason why a lot of the debris is there and needs to be cleaned up. It's not that they're littering, it's that it's left over from the flood of water from the dam runoff when they released the dam.
Yeah, about 80 years ago, there was a big flood in LA, and it killed a lot of people, well over 100. And it flooded out like large portions of LA, and Orange County had some issues and stuff too. But what happens is where the water, it hits the mountains and it starts coming down the LA River, and it gathers up dirt and it gathers up trash and tree branches and debris and all that, and it starts carrying it down. And when it really starts raining, the dam kind of gets blocked off, and then the water starts getting diverted. Well, through that encampment, there's a thoroughfare that goes from the LA River all the way to Havenhurst. And the water will go down first, and usually doesn't cause a whole lot of problems. But when it hits the end and comes back with the other water coming in, then it starts rising up, and it gets up to 14 feet. And I mean, as you've probably seen, they build tree houses there. So your options are you either get out of there, and go on to Burbank and, try to find someplace else, or you're up in the tree houses. Otherwise, you're going to have to get, evacuated out of there. And sadly, I mean, no humans have ever died during the flooding that I know, but a lot of pets have. And as you've seen all the trash and stuff, I mean, all those toxins and everything, people go back as soon as they can, but they lose all their stuff. But all that stuff comes up, and then that's where the sickness and, all the other stuff, just all that excess trash and everything just builds up, and, people's lives become worse.
Right. Well, to our viewers, I really want to touch again on, it would really help to write to the Encino councilman to get some trash dumpsters there to help alleviate this problem. I had the pleasure of meeting and speaking with a couple of homeless people down there, and I was very moved by them. I found them to be very nice and sincere and grateful. So I would like to see what we can do about getting that place cleaned up, because they need a place to live. And and that's the least I feel like we can do.
And going along with the homeless count, what that does is that's where they release the funds, where they need the beds, because it's not a crime to be homeless. So you cannot evacuate. Well, we know sometimes, that's people have other views, but
Well, no, it is. I think in one state, is it North or South Carolina, it is a law, believe it or not.
Yeah, no, there is criminalization for being homeless, and it's sad.
Yeah, it is sad.
And, in order for them to tell them to, and that's federal land, by the way, so really city and county are limited on what they can do, which is different than some places like, a Skid Row or whatever out in the open, or even if they go up Sepulveda or Van Nuys Boulevard, that's where LAPD and city and county and all those guys have,
And that's why a lot of them go there as well, so they're not messed with.
Yeah, they're told if you go there out of sight, out of mind, you can stay there. And so basically when they're in there, they feel a lot safer. But in order for them to be fully removed from there legally, you have to have beds for them to go into. So, and they all understand this. And I tell them this all the time. I'm like, I'm not here to keep you guys here. The only difference between me and some of these other guys is I love you guys. I want to see you guys live the best life, but this is really no place to live. And, in order for them to fully be out of there, they're going to have to provide beds. Now, the homeless count this year said 105. So they know they have a few years before they're going to get up to 600. But the goal is to get there. With everybody in, the campaign we got going here in LA, we want to get everybody in. We don't want to see people outside. When I drive by Angel Stadium, I remember when there was over 1,000 people there, and we did the big cleanup there last year, and now I drive by there and I don't see one. That's my goal, and ultimately the big fish would be if we could go down to downtown LA, and we know there's always going to be some, but instead of seeing tens of thousands, we only see tens or 20s,
Right.
So, Paul, what's the status on building those units? I think you had mentioned that more units. I mean, is there anything available for those things to take place? Or?
There is works in the plans, and of course, the mayor and some of the council members, they're starting to make their announcements. Hey, we got like Encino through Sheila Kuehl and Bob Blumenfield and Henry Stern. They're going to open up a place, and they may get more room than what they thought, where people could go wrap around services and get help, and it'd be the first one in the valley. So we're all thrilled, and hopefully by this time next year that'll be fully operational. But, you know, they're looking at Skid Row. They want to rezone it and put in some affordable housing and help in that way. And I know there's a developer in South LA. He wants to put in some bungalows that are low cost and help the homeless. So, you know, and there's thousands of empty buildings that, you know, when we get it, there's some red tape, but they open those doors, you can house so many people. It's just a matter of getting that all done. And, you know, we have buildings to put them in, but we also have land that we could have people go to. And we just got to get politicians to release that. And, you know, for very low cost, we got developers that can build stuff on that land. I mean, we can solve this problem, you know, as much as possible. We know there's always going to be some semblance of homelessness, but we can do so much more than what we're already doing.
Put a dent in it.
Yeah. We all just got to work together and get it done.
Absolutely. You're
So
amazing.
I'm just Paul.
You're amazing,
You know,
Paul.
we all got to do our work.
So we're talking with Paul Reed, a healer that helps the homeless, which is a big deed in itself. And I guess, you know, what are the biggest misconceptions about those who experience homelessness?
You know, we kind of were talking about it earlier. Oh, they're a bunch of drug addicts, or they're a bunch of crooks.
I know we touched on it, but I want to get into a little bit more because I think
no, totally. And you know, that's what most people think. But the truth is, you know, without name dropping, you know, and we've talked about it. I mean, there's been wives and girlfriends and kids and actual people that, you know, entertainers are related to, or, you know, rock and roll Hall of Famers or pro athletes and all that. I mean, there's somebody who lived in this neighborhood who's, you know, part of royalty when it comes to the automobile industry. And if it wasn't for us stepping in, they would have been homeless. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people are like, oh no, they never could because they knew the name, but it could happen to anybody. Absolutely. And what we try to tell everybody is, hey, you know, this could be any of us. It's not all the bad guys, like you like to say, and even the bad guys, we can help heal them too, but it could be anybody, and it is anybody. And we got to make a change to where everybody sees their own neighbors. It wasn't your former neighbor, you're still our neighbor, you know, and treat each other neighborly and make a difference and get people the help that they need. Because, you know, we all need help in some areas. You know, none of us are different in that way. There's no looking up or down. We're all eye level. You know, we all need help with something. So let's help each other.
Absolutely. So I think the dumpsters is 100%, you know, very, very important.
Yeah.
But outside of the dumpsters, what, if people want to get in contact with you and, you know, make donations, what would you say are like the top 3 things that are needed down there? Is it tents? Is it?
I mean, first would be hygiene.
Hygiene products.
You know, hygiene to keep clean and all that, which would go along, you know, we could get showers and laundry trucks there, you know, and obviously we have some areas we're looking to put some permanent stuff, or at least permanent, temporary for a few years. Mm-hmm. So we got to keep them clean. When it comes to clothing items, obviously socks. You know, it keeps your feet from getting infected. It keeps them warm. Mm-hmm. You know, and as much as I'd like to say tents, you know, we don't want people to think, oh, they're always going to be there and all that. Mm-hmm. I mean, we want them to have a place to stay. So instead of that, I would say more like, you know, maybe get them some blankets to keep them warm, especially like in that area. Because, I mean, they have makeshift. They build stuff out of the bamboos. They get tarps. I mean, they find curtains because people dump so much stuff there. A lot of the stuff there, these homeless people don't bring in washers and dryers and beds and tires and all that.
People just dump it.
Yeah, but they make use of it. And I mean, you've seen some of the creative stuff they have. So, you know, if we could get hygiene and socks and blankets, that would probably, but, you know, first off, we got to get volunteers to donate and go there, because ultimately the number one thing we all need is love.
Absolutely.
You know,
very well
yeah,
said.
it's not tough. Any of us can get down there and help. Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, the sign says it all. You don't have to go down there, bring it in, you know, bling, bling. We're not asking for that. They don't want that. They just want love and care, and they just want the simple things like what we need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree. And I have to say, I've been there a few times, and it's an incredible healing experience, you know, for myself. And I think it's important to take yourself out of your grind and your issues in your head, and take yourself, you know, and give your love and your time, you know, to them. And I think that, you know, you're such a wonderful person. I definitely feel like, you know, going and people getting in contact with you because you do have a relationship with them down there. I think that that's important if somebody wants to go down there, I would recommend getting in touch with you if that's okay.
No, that's fine.
As a liaison, because you kind of have a lay of the land and people are comfortable with you. Because I have experience where, if people don't know you or what you're doing there.
Yeah,
because it is a community, and it is their home. They feel like that's their home, and you're walking into their backyard, their home.
Yeah, and speaking on that the other day, a local politician who had never been there. We went there, and a lot of times I lead the tours, and I know where to go and where not to go. But it was so cool because I got the ultimate thing I wanted when we got there. One of the guys that was there, he's one of the elders there, he said, "Let me take you guys through." And I'm like, what better way? This is his house, his yard. He can show us. And I stood back and I was just smiling the whole time, and it was just such a great time. And, everybody learned a lot of stuff, and that's how it should be, because that's their house. So just like with any of our houses, who would want someone just walking in and taking cameras in or looking through stuff? That is their house, and people need to realize that, and have that respect. And it means so much to them when you guys have come and others have come, when I've been there, or even when I haven't been there, and shown them that respect, because that's all they ask for.
Absolutely.
And, there's been times where stuff's starting to get out of hand and all that. Some of the new people there, are, rightfully so, they don't know who I am or others are. And then those guys step in and say, hold on, this is the Logans or the Gabrielles or the Pauls. They're the ones here to help us. And, it's so cool. It goes both ways, and we look out for each other.
Yeah, absolutely. So. And I wanted to ask you, so in terms of the land that you said is available where people could, easily build for a little bit of money, make some sort of like sustainable, living, is there any plans or petitions in place for that? I mean, somebody who's watching that, more than just donations, how do we, it's like a Band-Aid. How do we really get the facility to make a dent in this? Is there anything in place? So if somebody wants to be an activist, like you, and get on board to try to move things forward, what would you recommend to somebody?
Contact your local politicians. When you go to the voting box, vote for who you think is going to make the biggest difference in that area. And also, if you have key, contacts with people that are architects, or people that provide medical care or mental health or veterans, contact all of them, see what they're already doing, see what you can do to help them, because ultimately we're never going to get this solved unless we're all on board with it together with the same plan. And speaking of that encampment, when we walk in there and everybody sees everybody together, some of these people, like, a lot of times people, they don't like law enforcement, but when they see them working together with us, they have that peace, and they're like, hey, you know what? We feel so much better now because everybody's working together and they love us. It's not, hey, get out of here, you got 15 minutes. So it's contacting all the people in those areas that, have a say. But it's also going outside of there, the box, and sometimes and contacting somebody who maybe doesn't, but maybe you're like, hey, they own this building. I looked up online, it's empty. What can they do? Can they open their doors? Can we put some beds in there? So it's just, looking around and seeing what all you can do. And, also seeing not just on local levels, but, like the whole city of LA or even the state. What can we all do to get on board as a state? Because we know we have a horrible problem up north too. And, if we all have the same, we see something working, it's like, hey, if they, say up in Oakland, this is working great there, talk to them and see what we can do here. And, it's all getting on board with each other and making it work.
Right. It makes sense.
Yeah, so we're coming to the tail end, and I guess the one question I'd want to ask you, so everybody can hear, is like, emotionally wise, what's probably one of the biggest things that's touched you in the heart when you've gone down to these, encampments and whatnot? Like a story, a shorter story, because you probably have a really long one, but what's really touched your heart down there that really moved you?
I would say, and I've never used this before, most people don't know this, but when we were down on the big riverbed cleanup, the big case going on in Orange County right now, we were down there for a couple weeks, and we were asked to help, over 1,000 people in 2 locations along the riverbed, plus the Plaza Flags in Santa Ana, get them housing, get all the humane stuff going on. We have this big lawsuit, which yesterday was a great day in that, as far as help, getting more help and settling some stuff. But the first person I was asked to take to a hotel turned out to be one of my relatives. And the way I found out is because we both have a common ancestor who's very famous in U.S. history. Not somebody I want to talk about because they did some bad things, but this guy had the same name as him. And I said, I'm related to so-and-so. And he's like, that's what I was named after. So as it all worked out, him and his girlfriend were the first people I took to get signed up with stuff and then take to a hotel. And that's when it's like, you know what, I've seen friends here. I've seen, all these different people I've worked with, or people so-and-so or whatever, even other family members. But when I saw somebody that I'm related to, it's just like, it brought it all together. And that whole experience in general, and that's been going on now for about a year and a half, the lawsuits and all that. It's been interesting to watch how certain things can go on that wouldn't have gone on normally. Like when you're escorting somebody out of a place and there's all these illegal drugs falling out of their bags, and law enforcement is like, we're not going to do anything because we're all on the same team to get this guy help. And when you got county officials and the lawyers and all that, we're all working together, and then the advocates, just this is how it should have been done in the first place. We should have never had to go to court to show people how to treat each other. But that whole experience, and I have more stuff to do with that, and we still do, we have a lot of work, and yesterday was a great victory, but we got a lot more to do. But, seeing something like that where we can go to a place that was just loaded with people that we've all been there hundreds, thousands of times to help, and now there's nobody there, and that's what it's all about. Being able to say, I used to come here and there's all these people, and now I come here and there's a few, or in this case, none. And it's so magical because that's why you do it for. We're not out there to enable people and keep them out there. We're out there to show them, hey, we want to get you to where you want to be, whatever that want to be is, and have a good life, and not have to worry about, I'm going to have to go dig in the trash, or I got to go do this, or I got to do that, and I can't find a bathroom, or my kid's on, I'm pregnant, it's on the way, and I don't know where I'm going to have my baby. Is to really just give them that hope and get them back on their feet where they want to be.
I just want to say thank you for the service that you provide. It's really outstanding. I know I said this in the beginning, but I know from talking to you that you're a person that amongst the community, they know that he can call. I know you just helped a woman who was 9 months pregnant, who had 3 kids, get into a shelter in downtown. And your dedication is tremendous. And you must feel good going to bed at night, knowing that you do what you can to be in service. You do what you can to help. And it's yes, we'd love to fix it, on a broad scale, but every little bit helps and counts. And I love and appreciate that. So thank you so much for that.
And thank you, you guys, for what you guys have done, not only in this community, but others. We all got to be out there and be healers, whatever ways those are, because we need healing ourselves. We got to help each other, and this world's never going to survive if we're not out there helping each other. And
that's how we heal ourselves, too, yes. by healing and helping each other. I love that you touched on that.
When people think it's all one way, no, it goes both ways.
Absolutely.
Everybody gets get out of it.
When I go there, I feel better. I feel better in every way possible.
Yeah, it raises your serotonin, that's for sure.
I just really want to give you the, again, you're just so phenomenal. I just want to give you the chance and make sure that we covered everything, that you feel people can do, to contribute. Is there anything else that you want to share? Is there anything else you want to talk about in terms of what's going on and impact?
I would say for the best way for people to get in contact with me, if they want to volunteer, whether it's with me or with other people, there's so many amazing, people and groups all around the area. We have a Facebook page. It's facebook.com/group/volunteers with passion. That's the best way to get connected and kind of see the stories. We share everybody's events and their stories, what's really going on, how you can get connected. If you like doing hygiene stuff, hey, this group's great. If you like doing family stuff or veteran stuff, you can see on there, and then hopefully join up with some of those groups and through that, their pages and all that.
I love it. And I was aware last visit that there is some sort of medical group that actually does see people from there.
Yes.
And I think that's amazing. And I just want to touch on if you have like you're trying to get, care for the animals, if you can help provide, any service, that would be amazing if you want to go down there and provide, I don't know, cut nails, cut hair.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. I mean, we've had people that said, hey, we will go down there and they'll do hair and nails for free to help them out.
Amazing.
People that are business people, and they're like, hey, we got some nice suits and dresses. We'll donate to them to help them get jobs.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's, there's so many restaurants that throw out so much food. It drives me wild. So I'm sure there's some restaurant owners out there in the Encino area that, wouldn't mind, taking some leftover food there.
And they do. I mean, there are some people, and it's really cool. They're like, don't ever say our name, don't ever say our group, but that's what they do. Their part of it is they go out 5, sometimes 7 days a week. Every day, at the end of the day, they go and they pick up the food, and then they take it out to everybody.
Beautiful.
And it's not just, on the streets. They take it to the Bamboos, and they take it to all those guys too, because they know everybody matters and everybody needs that. And, we all know you can't just, eat bread and chips and have water all the time. You need juice and hot food and nutritious stuff too, vegan stuff too. And they go and specifically try to get a lot of that stuff so everybody gets, the square meals that they need.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Just
Dude,
great teamwork.
You've completely come in here and crushed my heart, man. You've made me an impact on me, and I know you've made an impact on her even before you came in here. But I really appreciate you coming down here and sharing your stories. And this is going to be something we're going to want to have you come back on and share some more stories.
Yeah, no, definitely. And getting some other people lined up with you guys as well to kind of say what they do. And I we've been there a few times, and you guys have an impact on them. One of the girls that was there that we had talked to the last time you were there, she's saying, are they coming back? I'm like, they're coming back at some point, and they're looking forward to it because they're like, we want to get this help that they're offering and stuff, and and that's really cool. That's what it's all about. Whether you're there 100 times a year or 1,000 times, people joke with me, or you're there, maybe a few times, we've all made an impact because they see our hearts, they see the love, and they see why we're there. That we're friend, not foe.
Absolutely. I agree. It's all about the love, spreading the love, healing the world, healing each other, and giving when you can.
Yeah. And that's all we can do is give what we have, because we all can't give the same, but that's what's great about it, because we all have different gifts and things we can help with. Some of us, we can be there 5 times a week. Others of us, maybe it's only 5 times a year, but hey, it's not about the quantity of times you've been there. It's about the quality that you bring to them. And that's all they care about.
Absolutely.
They see somebody one time and they'll talk about them. And I know this because the co-founder of our group, 2 years ago, actually 3 years ago now, she was there, and they still ask about her because she left that much of an impact on them.
I love it. That's what it's all about.
Yep.
Impacting.
Impact.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Paul, Reed, it's been a pleasure and an honor. And here at the Healers, myself, Logan, and Gabrielle, we really appreciate you coming down. And I know the audience is going to be thrilled to feel this emotion. And I'll put the links, up on the screen for everybody to find you on Facebook to make it easy and whatnot. And love to have you back again.
Yeah, no, and thank you for having me. I mean, you guys are amazing what you guys do, and we need stuff like this so people can watch quality stuff and not just watch, the same old, they need to learn how can I help or
how can I impact my community?
Yeah.
How can I create change in the world and shift what's going on? Absolutely.
Yep.
You're beautiful and inspiring, and I thank you for all your time and service you do.
Oh, thank you. You guys are absolutely wonderful and beautiful yourself, so thank you.
Awesome. Well, that's it for this episode of The Healers. Our special guest, Paul Reed. My name is Logan, the lovely Gabrielle. Paul, it's been a pleasure, man. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Guys. All right,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Good night.
Good night.